Sorry, I'm trying to figure out my light. I was trying something new, but it's too distracting, so I'm trying to figure out how to get it back to normal. Because it's annoying me. Oh yeah, that isn't distracting at all. Holy cow. Sorry guys, I'm trying to get my light back to normal. I was trying something different and I don't like it. So now I'm trying to get it back to normal. Where's it at? I don't know how to get it back to normal. Oh, there we go. I think I figured it out. Oh, that was distracting. Talk about hard on the eyes. Holy cow. If you're just hopping on and you're new here, tell me who you are, where you're from. My name is Renee, if you're not familiar. Hold on, guys, I gotta clean my glasses. They're fine all day. I wear them all day. It just cracks me up. And then as soon as I get on a live, they bug the crap out of me. So they could be dirty all day. And I'll sew in them, you know, work on my stuff. I'm good. Till I get online and then I'm like, wait, they're dirty. So yeah, if you're new here, tell me who you are, where you're from. All right, let's see. These are actually my living room glasses. My bedroom ones are actually over there, but I walked in here. I was sewing earlier and I walked in here with them. So now I have 2 pair in the bedroom and nothing in the living room. So I'll have to fix that. Oh, that's good. I just smeared it because my finger went through the tissue. All right. So tonight we're going to be talking about, are you letting fear control your life? And what does that look like? As soon as I get my glasses clean. Maybe. Okay. Let's see. Did I fix it or make it worse? All right. I got a hair in my eye. Thank you for the heart, me Daniel. All right. So, shall we get started? If you're new here, tell me who you are, where you're from. I guess I should have went with my bedroom glasses, huh? All right. So, if you're not familiar, my name is Renee. Welcome. I started my TikTok in March of 2024. The reason why I started my TikTok is because in September of 2023, my husband, for TikTok purposes, unalived himself. If you're not familiar with my story, my husband and I were together for 32 years, never apart more than 2 weeks in those 32 years. And so I didn't know an adult life without him. And so when he passed, everybody kept telling me, Renee, put one foot in front of the other. And I literally didn't know how to do that. Thank you for those, Daniel. I appreciate it. I didn't know how to do that. And so, after he left, I honestly thought about checking out myself. And then I decided, my daughter had said to me, she said, Mom, you realize your life is worth living, right? And that was like my light bulb moment. And I was like, okay, I'm a mess and I have to figure out a way to heal myself because my husband didn't leave me in a great spot financially. So therapy was out and I'm the unique girl, the circle that don't fit in the square. And so I knew that group therapy wasn't going to work for me either. And so like I said, I had to find a way to heal myself. And so I started to deep dive into meditation and journaling, and I would go out into nature and spend time and cry and do all of the things that I know I needed to do. So that's kind of my journey here. Other than I discovered that I had abilities at that time also, that I could talk to my spirit guides, and they slowly led me to my purpose, which was to help other people with loss. So that's why I'm here. I only have 2 rules on my page. The first one is I just ask that you be kind. And the second one is I ask that we talk no politics here. Just not at all what my page is about. There's a million other pages out there for that. My page isn't just, it's just not about that. So I always like to say I'm on my journey of life where I am and you're on your journey of life where you are, and none of us are going to agree on everything. So we agree to disagree here. And if you can't do that, I just ask that you hop off and keep scrolling. So when I go live, generally, for the most part, my guides give me the topic. So tonight we're going to talk about, are you letting fear control your life? And what does that look like? So I just always like to say we are not shy here. So if you've got something you want to say, your page, my page is your page. I can't talk tonight at all. Lordy. So don't be shy. We're not shy here. Sometimes TikTok hides your comments though, and that I can't control. I have no control over that, unfortunately. So if I don't read your comment, that means I'm probably not seeing it. So, but mostly my page is about loss, but we talk about other things here too that kind of go hand in hand with that. So I'm going to get started, stop rattling on because we're already 7 minutes in. So, okay, are you letting fear control your life? Fear is an automatic survival mechanism designed to protect us, right? When we think something is going to hurt us, we have fear, right? But it becomes a barrier when it turns into a chronic worry, or it holds you back from your everyday life, right? And I know a lot of times, part of the reason, like I said, we're talking about this is because sometimes it can go hand in hand with loss, right? In my case, when I lost my husband, I had lots of fears because like I said, I never lived an adult life without him. I didn't know how. And so, I had fears of how am I going to do this or do that because I had never done it alone. So it can turn into a hindrance, right? A barrier. Managing fear requires shifting your relationship with your emotions, which is something that I had to learn. So that it informs you but doesn't control you, right? So there's lots of different beliefs. The core belief trap, fear that stems from deeply ingrained and unconscious belief formed in your childhood sometimes, right? Or through a past criticism, that your worth is maybe somehow tied to your achievements or your ability to do something, right? So if you're new here and you're just hopping on, tell us who you are, where you're from. If you're not familiar, my name is Renee. Welcome. And then you have the comparison trap. And we've talked about this one numerous nights because it falls into a lot of different categories, right? Comparison, right? Social media contributes to the comparison trap. We only see people's polished reality and carefully curated, highlighted reels, right? But sometimes we can look at other people's social media and think, oh, their life is perfect. And we don't always see, like I said, that's something that maybe they've polished. From the Philippines, welcome. How many more did I miss? Sorry, guys. Two. I'm just going to back up real quick, make sure I didn't miss anybody. A lot of fakes out here. Just need a true reading my future. Well, I'm a true medium, so if you're interested, my email's down in the bio, and I do one-on-one readings. So that's how you would set that up if you're interested in a reading. Okay, so like I said, social media is big for nowadays being able to look at that and go, oh, their life is perfect, or they're perfect, or they don't have any problems. Well, we don't see what goes on behind the scenes with people. And I've said this multiple times, we don't know what they go through to get to where they are, right? I had worked at a school once, and one of the people that I worked with, I had gotten a new car. I'd never had a new car. I drove $500 clunkers most of my married life in the beginning, probably the first 15 years, right? And so I had gotten a new car, and she took it upon herself to judge me. And I felt very judged because I drove a new car. She didn't know what it took for me to get there, and the things and the hard work that we did in order to have that new car, right? So never judge somebody, never compare yourself to somebody else, because you never know what's going on in their life. You've never walked a day. Like I always told my kids when they went to school, if you've never walked a day in somebody's shoes, don't compare yourself. Don't judge somebody else. It's just a good policy. So if you're just hopping on and you're new here, tell us who you are, where you're from. My name is Renee, if you're not familiar. Tonight we're talking about letting fear control us and or control our lives. So your mind acts like a magnifying glass to all of its flaws, right? And of course, it doesn't help when the world teaches us to look at the negative. Always look at the negative of things instead of what can go wrong today, what can go right today. And so like I said, our mind can overwork. We can overthink. Anybody else an overthinker here? I used to be. I'm working on that. I can overthink a lot and think, of all of the bad things that I'm doing wrong instead of maybe the good things that I'm doing. So learning how to control our emotions and our mind. Some of the things that maybe our mind tells us is we're not good enough. Right? We're a failure. We're not worthy. We're not handsome enough. We're not pretty enough. We're not smart enough. Maybe we're not lovable, right? And I've talked about this one on live before too. Thank you for all the likes, guys. I do appreciate that. Those hearts really do help. Most of my entire life I felt broken because, I either talked too much or I was too emotional or I loved too much or whatever it may be, right? And so I had this opinion of myself that I was broken. And what I didn't realize is that I wasn't broken. I didn't know who I was. And once I learned who I was, then I was able to learn to love myself. And so that helps. And also realizing too that if people think those things of us, then guess what? They're not your people. We talked about that one a little bit last night too. They're not your people. So find other people. If you're too much, too lovable, find other people. Learning who you are and learning to love yourself. That is huge. And my friend Jen, who's on here tonight, we talk about this all the time. Learning who you are and learning to love yourself falls in almost every category in our life. That tells you how important it is. So that is huge. Because I stopped relying on others to dictate my worth, right? So once I learned to love myself, I figured out who I was and learned to love myself. I no longer needed anyone's validation, right? And so a lot of times when we're needing other people's validation, it's because we don't love ourselves. Your boy, Troy, irrelevant. Did I miss something? What did I miss? I must have missed a comment in there somewhere. Oh, you can go ahead and block him, Jen. He's a troll. Okay. So, like I said, practice validating yourself. That's a huge one. By saying, I'm proud of me. If you have to stand in the mirror and say, I'm pretty, I'm handsome, I'm worthy, I'm smart, whatever it is, right? Practice validating yourself instead of the negative, right? Take the spotlight off of yourself. That's one way to do it. Instead of worrying about what might others think of me. That fear of, what are they going to say? And what are they going to, people are going to talk about me. Instead of worrying about that, take the spotlight off yourself and think about, shift that to what do I think of me? Or what can I do to help somebody else? Worry about helping somebody else instead of worrying about what other people are saying and thinking about us, right? And always remember, I love this. Ever since I've learned this, it's my motto, right? What other people think, their opinions and what they think about us are none of our opinion. They're none of our business. I can't talk. Sorry, guys. Focus on how you can contribute to others' lives. We talked about that just briefly. It's important, like I said, take the shift off of you, right? If you can't focus on the good for you, then focus on the good you can do for others. So take that shift off of yourself. put it onto other people of how you can help others and not worrying about yourself so much. And I think that's important. Not showing up for life. That's one of the ways. What does it look like, right? Letting fear control you. Not showing up for life. I know most of my married life, I lived in survival mode. And I pretty much just, that's where I lived. And I was just worried about functioning. And so I wasn't showing up for life very much. I didn't have fun. I didn't go. I mean, I did, but I didn't, right? Like there was a lot of times where it's like I just isolated myself and I just, I didn't show up for life. Procrastination. Anybody else? I used to be a huge procrastinator. I'm way better than I used to be. I'm still one of those people, though, when I'm on a deadline, I work better, which I know is so bad. That's just, but there again, I know that about myself, right? Know and understand how you work. So sometimes it's not so much about procrastination, but for me, it's like when I'm on a deadline, I just do better. I don't know. It's like my brain functions better. I don't know. But procrastinating, we delay tasks to protect us from judgment, right? So sometimes if we think, well, if I just don't do it, then somebody's not going to judge me, or I won't be judged somehow. Or you won't have those emotions of, well, if I just don't do it, if I wait till the last minute and I don't do it, then I don't have to worry about failing at it because maybe you're not sure. Now I fit that category to a T, right? If I do not understand something, my brothers will tell you I was horrible at math when I was growing up. And if I did not understand something, I would just shut down. I just went into shutdown because if I didn't get it, I didn't get it. And so sometimes it's easy to just procrastinate. And I know I'm guilty of that one. I will procrastinate on something if I don't understand how to do it or what I'm doing. So know yourself, right? Okay, common signs of fear behavior. Perfectionism. I also fall into this category, right? Thinking everything has to be perfect. I'm learning and I'm getting better. Since I started doing reels and being online, my guides have taught me that my reels don't have to be perfect. I don't have to take 12 takes, 15 takes, 20 takes to get it perfect. It doesn't have to be perfect. People don't want perfect. They want real, right? And so I'm learning that. So sometimes like I'll make a reel and I'll be like, oh, I didn't say that right. And then I'm just like, hit post, Renee. That's what my guides have taught me. Just hit post. Don't overthink it, right? Because that perfectionism in me, which stems from, childhood trauma of feeling like I always had to be perfect at something, apparently. So don't overthink it. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to control everything. It's okay. So now, like I said, sometimes I'll take a couple takes, but most of the time it's like, it doesn't have to be perfect. Like I said, nobody wants perfect. None of us are perfect. So just do it, right? Get it done. So if there's something that you're needing to do and you're procrastinating on it because you think it has to be perfect, it doesn't have to be perfect, right? I know when I first started doing my sewing again, and sometimes I don't stitch perfectly straight, right? It's okay. I make dog collar bandanas, and sometimes my stitch isn't perfectly straight. And trust me, nobody pays that much of attention. So there again, where I had to go, okay, it doesn't have to be perfect, Renee. People understand you're not perfect. So it doesn't have to be perfect. They just want real. Let's see. People pleasing. I also fell into that category. There again, right? I grew up thinking I was broken because people didn't like me because I was the unique girl, right? I was the girl that stood out. I wasn't popular. And so I thought people would like me if I, did whatever. So sometimes maybe they would say, well, will you do this? And I would do things for people, mostly in, like in my 20s and my 30s, not so much in my 40s because I finally was learning my lesson. But, thinking that I had to please everyone, right? I had to please my family. I had to please people at church. I had to, all these people that I had to please in order to think, well, if I didn't please them, then they wouldn't like me. And what I learned is I really don't care, right? My give a crap button broke right around my 40s, but really broke once I learned who I was and learned to love myself, because that caring is there again. That people pleasing will go away when you no longer need people's validation, right? So when you learn to love yourself, like I said, this falls into every category we talk about on here. When you learn to love yourself, then you stop your people pleasing tendencies, because guess what? There again, you don't need their validation. The only validation you need is your own. So people pleasing also used to be one of those. I'm a reformed people pleaser. Anybody else? Let's see. And learning, and for me, it was learning my peace, right? I just discovered that my peace was the most important thing. And so if pleasing other people was stealing my peace, I just stopped doing it. I just stopped caring, because it's like my peace became more important than anything else, including pleasing other people. And that's the thing, I used to be that person, right? That, took the treats to church and, had to do all of these things where I was driving myself insane, literally crazy. I was running myself ragged like a chicken with my head cut off, because I was trying to do all of these things to make people happy, thinking if I made them happy, then it would make me happy. And here's the thing, all it did was make me miserable and steal my peace. So stop. Overthinking, over planning instead of just doing it. I used to be an overthinker, still can be sometimes. That's my friend. But I'm getting so much better. Sometimes, we overthink things to death. Too much logic where we're not using our gut instinct. Sometimes we need to just listen to our gut instead of thinking and thinking and thinking and thinking and going, well, I don't know the answer and I'm trying to figure it out and I have to have control and all of this stuff, right? Letting our brain and our emotion take over, when sometimes it's just as simple as listening to our gut and going with that, right? Because that's our internal compass. That's the internal compass that God, divine, creator, whatever it is you say or believe, give us, right? So we really don't need to overthink half the things that we do just because we just don't listen to our internal compass. Staying in bad situations, maybe toxic relationships, miserable jobs. I know a couple of years, it wasn't this winter, but last winter, I was in a job I was absolutely miserable. I'm getting up at 4:30, 4 o'clock. No, it was like 3:45 in the morning. I was miserable. It's winter time, it's cold. And I was just absolutely miserable. And I'm like, why am I doing this? Am I doing this worth stealing my peace? And I'm not going to lie, I had to figure out another situation for some income. But you know what? It was worth it, because I saved my peace. I ended up finding another part-time job until my seasonal job started. And so, sometimes you got to ask yourself, your peace or being in something toxic. A lot of times we don't want to give up toxic relationships because maybe it's family. I'm of the mindset there again. I don't care who you are. You're my mother, my brother, my child. If you steal my peace, bye. And that doesn't mean you have to cut them off completely, right? It just sometimes means keeping those people at arm's length. Now, that being said, if you're in a toxic relationship where somebody is totally abusing you, whether it be physically or mentally, there's no excuse for that. You need out. I'm going to leave that at that. Letting fear of the unknown control us, right? Last fall, I got asked to move to California, and I could have said no. I didn't know what that was going to bring, and I could have said, no, I'm not going to do it. And I'm glad that I did do it, because I learned a lot of lessons from doing that. Now, that being said, I gave up my apartment. And so, if it didn't work out in California, I had no place to go back to, which it didn't work out in California, hence living in my brother's basement. But here's the thing. I believe with all of my heart, sometimes the things in life that we regret are the chances that we don't take. And so my husband and I always had this saying, you don't know if you don't go. So that's my philosophy on that. And it doesn't have to be big decisions like that either, right? Like, like moving your whole life to another state, but just not letting fear of the unknown stop you, right? That's our comfort zone. That's our ego trying to keep us in our comfort zone. So, learning when sometimes we need to step out in fear a little bit, to step out of that comfort zone so we can grow and evolve as a person, right? And for me, I grew a lot. One, I had never traveled without my husband. I went from South Dakota to California by myself with a dog and 2 cats in a car. And, I was terrified. I admit it. I was terrified. I think I was, 4 hours from home, and I called my daughter and I'm like, I can't do this. And my daughter says to me, my daughter, right? She says this to me. She says, Mom, you're already doing it. I was already on the road, right? So sometimes we have to step out of that comfort zone if you want to evolve or grow as a person. So don't let fear overtake that, because like I said, there's chances in life that if we don't take them, that you can miss out on things. Sorry. Letting indecision paralyze us. Not making a choice because you're scared you'll pick the wrong path. I know one time I was talking to my Mary Kay director, and I don't remember what the situation was. I think we were moving. We wanted to move, and I was talking to her about it, and I was like, we're not sure what to do. And she looked me dead in the eye and she said, Renee, sounds like you. She looked me dead in the eye and she said, Renee, guess what? Sometimes we just have to make a choice, and you have to make it the right choice, right? So you make it the right choice. I believe every choice we make is a learning decision. Just like me going to California, I learned a lot about myself. And so, maybe it wasn't the right path that I should have taken, but I learned so many things about myself, and I don't regret it, and I wouldn't change it. So sometimes just make a choice, and don't be so scared that it's not the right choice, because like I said, every situation's a learning situation. And, if that choice isn't right, then you make another choice to fix it or whatever, right? Or as my mom and my grandma always said, you cross that bridge when you get there. So you make that choice today, and whatever happens. And then you make another choice, you cross that bridge later. So for me, I didn't know where I was going to go if I left California. I just figured I'll cross that bridge when I get there, And I know not everybody can make choices like that. Not everybody, has that self-confidence, to be able to do that, or you're a complete control freak. And like I used to be, the old me would have been like, yeah, no, I don't know how I'm going to control the situation, so I wouldn't made it. But like I said, I had become to the point where, like I said, my husband and I always talked about, if you don't know unless you go. Sorry, I had to brain fart for a second. Okay, so every choice is a lesson, and finding a new perspective, right? So there again, if you make a choice and it wasn't necessarily the right choice, change your perspective. If you're just hopping on, tell us who you are, where you're from. If you're not familiar, my name is Renee. Welcome. Tonight we're talking about letting fear control our life, and what does that look like? How to break those cycles. Some of the ways: speak the fear, say it out loud, say and the outcome you are scared of. Because sometimes when we say it out loud, then we kind of laugh at ourselves and go, really, I'm really scared of that, right? Because it sounds worse in our head. So sometimes if you speak it, then you realize it's really not. Or you can say, wow, is that really a fear? Right? Why is that such a big fear? Once you say it out loud and you hear yourself say that. Focus on things you can control, right? Break things down so it's not so overwhelming. For me, when I first started writing my book, there again, the control freak in me was already, terrified. well, I don't know how to do this, and how do I get it published, and what's the next step, and what's the next step, and what's the next step. And so if you're like me, and break it down so you're not so overwhelmed. So for me, then I just learned that I had to just focus on writing the book. Let's just write the book. There again, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. So I'm almost done writing the book, and then I'll figure out the next step, right? And I'm to that point where I'm figuring out the next step. But I'm not worried about the step after that or the step after that, right? I'm just focusing on right now for me, so I'm not overwhelmed. Just what is my step right now? Finishing the book, okay? So if there's something that scares you and you're afraid of that and you're overwhelmed by just the whole thought of it, break it down into little pieces and figure out, okay, what step can I do right now, right? Maybe you have a huge dream, a huge goal, and I have lots of them. And to think about the whole picture sometimes it's extremely overwhelming, and then we can let fear just shut us down and then we do nothing, right? So instead of focusing on that whole dream, that whole goal, sometimes it's easier to just focus on where you are right now in the present. What do you got to do right now? The baby step you got to take right now to work towards that, right? Let's see. Mistakes. Remind yourself that making mistakes is all a learning experience, right? I make mistakes every single day, right? We all do. And learning to give yourself grace. That's a big one. I didn't write that down, but that is huge, right? We all make mistakes and we all make bad choices, and it is what it is, right? But there again, learning to change your perspective and, okay, what can I learn from this, right? Maybe I made the wrong choice or made a mistake, but what can I learn from it? Because ultimately that's why we're here. We're here to learn. All right, guys. And my takeaway for all of that is stop letting emotions control you, right? Don't let fear control your life. And that's easier said than done sometimes, but hopefully I give you some tools to work through that or to change that if you're going through some of that. Anybody have any questions? Everybody's so quiet tonight. Are they not letting comments come through, or am I just didn't see them? Anybody got anything they want to add to that? Anybody want to talk about their fears or going once, going twice? Anyone? Okay. All right. Well, while I'm waiting to see if anybody's going to talk to me at all, if you're not familiar, I also have a YouTube channel, which is under Scorpio Medium. All the reels that you see here on my page are also over there. The only difference is when I go live, I upload those over there to Scorpio Medium also. So if you do enjoy my lives and you miss one and you want to catch it, they're all over there on Scorpio Medium. I have changed my schedule again. I will be here Sunday through Wednesday, 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. Also going to try to start adding some daytime times. And every once in a while, you might catch me on a weekend. I'll hop on if I'm bored. But otherwise, Sunday through Wednesday, I'm here 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. And on Wednesday nights is our mini read night. So if you are interested in a mini read, we do those on Wednesdays. I also do one-on-one readings with people. So if you're interested in a one-on-one reading with me, you can set that up through sending me an email, which you'll find down below in my bio. And I'm also doing group readings. I fear losing my peace and letting anyone into my life. Yeah, that's tough. That is tough. It's one of those things where I guess you have to just step out in fear a little bit, out of that comfort zone and let somebody in. And, what's the worst that can happen? If they start to steal your peace, then you just, that's when they gotta go, I don't know. You know what I mean? So, I am starting to do group readings on Zoom. So if you've got a group of people you want to get together and you want to have a group reading, I do offer those now on Zoom. Those are available. And last but not least, I do have a Venmo. So if you would like to leave me a tip, you're welcome. If you would like to leave me a tip, those are always greatly appreciated but never expected. You can do that through my Venmo down below. And that's pretty much everything I have for you tonight, guys. Nobody else have any other questions or anything? It's, you know, the peace thing is kind of like when you've been hurt in love, right? Like for instance, for me, with my husband passing, I was ready to just put my wall up right away and be like, I'm not going to invite love back into my life because of fear, right? Fear of, I guess, for me, speaking for me personally, abandonment, right? I felt abandoned. And my heart was shattered into a million pieces. And so it's like that thought of inviting somebody back into my life to love, I'm taking that chance of being abandoned again or having my heart shattered into a million pieces again. And so, I guess the biggest thing is you just have to weigh, for me, it was weighing the option of, do I want to spend the rest of my life alone with the wall up, or do I want to maybe take the chance of spending the rest of my life with someone else? And for me, it's worth it. I want to take the chance of spending my life with someone. I don't want to be alone for the rest of my life. And there again, another lesson that I had to learn, that I don't need somebody in my life. I want somebody in my life. So just throwing that out there. That's pretty much all I have, guys. So let's see. Today's Monday, so I will be back tomorrow night. I'm not sure what I'm going to be talking about. I guess we'll find out when tomorrow night gets here. I hope y'all have a great night. Remember to make tomorrow great because it's a choice. Until we meet again.